Tokyo. So, the final part of the short film we're making takes place in Tokyo. The cars have to race, the cars have to drift. But how actually to create Tokyo? How did you do it?
That's a great question, Dino.
Thank you.
How did I do it? Tokyo sequence was visualized in the same way as everything else, in 3D. I created a little scene with a road and a few buildings, and Dino and I were just moving the car models around and searched for the shots with a digital camera. We learned that we needed 6 buildings to be able to get all the shots, and since everything had the correct measurements in 3D, I knew that the buildings had to be about 4 feet high and about 3 by 3 feet wide. And since there's 6 of them, the base had to be really big. It was a really big miniature set. And we also had to think about the reach of the robotic arm, so we designed the set with a hole in the side, and the robot was supposed to live in one of the buildings, which enabled us to reach to the center of the set with the camera. The next task was to actually design the buildings. I took a lot of digital walks around Tokyo on Google Street View and looked for inspiration. I was just gathering the info on their storefronts, the types of windows they have, and I searched for the elements I could use to make the buildings interesting. But considering we had only 1 month to make all the miniatures, the buildings had to be designed in a way that they could be quickly manufactured. This is the building block of every building I made. It's a piece of plywood, and it's the size that fits into my laser cutter. So all the buildings are made from sheets like these. The first floor is half of this sheet, and then there's 2 on top, and this is the whole height of the building. Once I determined the size of those sheets, I could explore the potential shapes of the buildings in Blender. On some of them I would cut the corner at 45 degrees to make them more interesting, and some of them had the terrace. But the building was always the same size, half a sheet for the storefronts and 2 full sheets on top. And that unified design enabled me to just churn them out one after the other. I realized I can fit 3 floors on one sheet, so I designed a window and I just varied the amount of windows per each sheet. So sometimes I have 3, sometimes I have 5, and you wouldn't believe it, but sometimes I have 4. And when I laser cut all of these, I can just glue them together and form the facades, right? Once I had the sides assembled, I could start putting them together. We would just glue supports in the corners, just basically sticks of wood, and clamp them for a few minutes until the glue set. We need 6 of the buildings for the filming, but I only designed 3 different versions because each side of the building is different, so when you rotate them, they look like a different building. So with just 3 designs, we kind of get the feeling that we have 6. The buildings are basically just boxes, so they're a little bit boring. And you always want to break the line, the silhouette, right? So I always try to invent some kind of balconies to just make them a little bit more interesting. So here's a balcony like this one, and I also 3D printed some balconies, which I can then screw to the corners. And you know, it's not a straight line anymore, it's just something happens along the line, which is always a good thing. So hopefully it's gonna make them a little bit more realistic. And now I'm gonna put the cat into the building with the hope it's gonna generate more views on the video. Kimchi. He's so cute. Like and subscribe. Once the building is built, I prime them in a certain color. I try to paint them differently. Sometimes I use white color, sometimes light gray, sometimes a little bit beige, just to give them more diversity. And at that point, I'm done with them. We put them in a van and bring them to the workshop for the guys to continue their work. After the building is brought here, the first thing that needs to be done is to paint the shop fronts. Every shop front needs to be in a certain color that makes sense with the type of the shop that it is, right? And then on top of that, we choose a different color for the windows and the doors. So there's a lot of masking involved, right? Of course, you have to mask the first color to not spray over it. And it's a very slow process, but in the end it looks really nice. You can see that the white paint bled a little bit underneath the tape, which is not really good, but we're not worrying about it because nobody's gonna see that. The guys also wanted to paint the individual panels on the buildings to give them more contrast, and I was always like, no, don't do that, we have much more important things to do. I was always worried about the time, but they were like, no, it's gonna look good. So they hand painted and masked and spray painted them, and sure, I mean, it looks great on the buildings. then we need to wash them, and washing is like dirtying them, you know, with dirty black diluted paint, because then you get the weathering and, you know, all the rain streaks and stuff like that. This is always applied very generously and loosely. If you go overboard, you can always just bring it down by wiping away the excess with a rag.
Hello.
What are you doing?
I'm doing weathering on the building because usually all the filth accumulated from the rain and the environment is collected in the lower part, yes, in the corners. So
These things kind of make the building look realistic. It stops looking like a plastic toy and it starts looking realistic. So the canopies are gonna go above these storefronts. I laser cut these things and they're glued, like 4 of them in this arrangement. And then Luca is soaking this paper in wood glue and putting it over the canopies. So when they dry, they're gonna look cool. Some of the canopies we made with that glue technique, but some were made just from thick paper. That gave us a bunch of different looks. And then they were all painted in a variety of different colors. Then we attach them over the storefronts, of course taking great care that the color of the storefront aesthetically matches with the canopy. We also made a few of the more oriental canopies, and for these I actually reused the files I created a few years ago for the dojo miniature, if you remember that, which was nice. For every opening, for every window or shopfront, we have these transparent sheets, which we are gonna have to glue from the back side.
But even if the glue spills over, you don't have to worry. It will look like a very old window and it will have a certain texture.
Do you have something to say about Dino's work?
I think Dino should talk less and work more. So while the guys had their hands full with the buildings, I could start focusing on another important part of the city. These are the pavements that the buildings are gonna sit on. And they're very complicated to make actually. First we had to glue 3 pieces of MDF boards. Then we needed to cut the corners because we noticed that in Tokyo they have rounded corners on the crosswalks. First Dino used the saw to cut it and then I used the router to, you know, fine tune it. So we need to cut the notches here in the edge to make individual pieces of concrete. I don't know the word of this, but you know what I mean. It's a very painstaking process. And then finally we need to drill the holes where the lampposts are gonna go and then route the channel on the bottom where the wires are gonna go. So there's a lot of, you know, things to do, but they're finally done. Now we can paint them. The guys used the gray paint for the pavements, of course, but they also painted the brighter patches to simulate the different layers of asphalt or repairs on the pavement. As always, they washed them and did some nice shading. At that point, we could finally glue all the buildings to the pavements and detail them a little bit. This thing is called the tactile paving. It's a bunch of squares with bumps on them that inform the blind or visually impaired people that they are at a crossing. It's all over Tokyo, so of course I 3D printed some as well. By the way, speaking of 3D printing, there was a huge manufacturing process going on simultaneously. I already had 3 3D printers and we bought 2 more and I was just like printing like crazy. We designed tons of models that we needed for detailing the city, like all sorts of electric boxes, street signs, little posts, manholes, a fire hydrant, trash cans, AC units, and I was just churning them out with my 3D printers and bringing them to the studio so the guys could paint them. And you can spend a lot of time on these tiny things, you know, you have to paint each model carefully, weather them, apply some rust, perhaps also apply some stickers. These hydrants are my favorite, probably. I mean, there's even a little chain added to each one. They really did a great work. I gave them 75 AC units a couple of days ago, they finished them. So today I gave them about, I don't know, maybe 90 more, I think. Something like that, maybe.
And only 2 weeks left.
Rust, yes, always great.
The problem is you spend a lot of time on this, and in reality, the buildings are huge, the city is huge, and you won't even have a chance to look at it properly. So that's the problem.
But that wasn't all. We had to prepare a ton of different graphics for all kinds of stuff. These are the trash cans, and some are obviously for paper, some are for plastic, and there had to be custom labels on them. Then we made 24 vending machines. They are the symbol of Tokyo after all. And of course they were painted in different colors and needed custom 3D printed parts and custom graphics, and it was all hand glued to each one. But they're really cute, right? These are all the 3D printed parts that we prepared for the buildings. We have trash cans, power things, electricity things, hydrants, whatever, manholes. So this is everything we have, and I just sorted it into 6 rows because now we know how many we can spend on one building. And it looked like we have a lot of it, but now when you see just how much you have for one building, it's not that much. Yeah, but it's gonna be okay. Of course, I also wanted to have custom 3-dimensional ads for some stores. Baking a pizza. About 6 years ago, we were in Tokyo and we were walking down the street and we saw a giant crab on the building. You can see it here. So naturally, we decided to 3D print the crab and put it on one of our buildings. And you know, while we were at it, I 3D printed some, you know, French fries and pizza and stuff like that, which will kind of, which will be. Now I look what I did. It's still wet.
At the moment I'm painting this ramen sign. The thing I need to paint now is this broccoli. So we are trying to mix several different green colors and try to look it as tasty as possible.
We just got a package from China and it's full of little plastic dollhouse things that we can use for detailing the buildings. And now we are opening it and it's like Christmas. This is so cool. So we ordered a bunch of these tiny knickknacks like tiny bottles and beer cases because that's something that's very hard to actually manufacture and you can buy it for a couple of dollars online. So we're manufacturing a lot of stuff, but you gotta like cheat a little bit, you know, just to make things faster. We bought some tiny plastic miniature plants, but I also designed and 3D printed a bunch of these tiny planters and gave it to the guys, and they planted tons of flowers and bushes and stuff like that in them, and these were great. They gave a lot of realism to the streets. We need 36 street lights on the streets of Tokyo, so I 3D printed all the pieces, and now Laura has to glue them and do his magic.
We are using these small LEDs and then wire them and glue them inside the head. Here are the finished ones.
Oh yeah, look at it. We also made about 100 of these neon signs, and they were an engineering feat of their own. The frames were first 3D printed, and then inside each one we needed to glue chopsticks as the supports for the LED light. And then Laura glued and soldered the LED light into each of them.
We are having inside this LED filament. This is how it looks like inside this. It's great because we can backlight both the front and the back side.
So we tested different papers with different thickness to see which one lets most light out, right? We came to the conclusion that 130 gram is the perfect paper thickness for us.
And each one needs to get a designed image on them, right? So we have everything printed, but not all of them are approved by the IP, so we need to check everything.
IP approved are the specific ones that are connected to characters.
The Lego and Universal want them to be prominent because then fans can look for them.
Drift King is actually from the third movie, so it's an important character, so this is on the storefront.
Yeah.
But some of them are just random, you know, restaurants, miso soups, pubs, cinemas.
And
so these are all okay.
Yeah, we are allowed to use them wherever we want.
Yeah, basically walk to each store, choose what commercial we're gonna put above.
Yeah.
And also look for if the colors.
Yes, you're very specific about the colors.
Yeah, I mean.
So if a store is a certain color, we have to combine everything, you know, red with this beige, and you can't do something that's ugly. That's not appropriate. Yeah.
Because
although,
50% of everything we decided that will not have an impact in the end, but we still choose it carefully.
Yes, but it's visible in the making of.
Yeah.
And that's why we need to be very careful.
Yeah.
Yeah. All of these buildings have a lot of windows on them, and there needs to be something in the windows, right? So we had a bunch of different visuals printed of the interiors of the houses and offices and whatever, right? So all of these had to be glued one by one on the buildings, and when the buildings are going to be lit from the inside, we're going to get a variety of different colors in the windows.
Yeah.
And all of this is pretty much just gibberish, visual gibberish. Everything is just like blurry images. You see? What is this? I have no idea. It's just something.
But it's dark. It looks like
dark.
Nobody is there.
Yeah, some lights or something.
Yeah. But since we are on the street level,
it's gonna look okay.
It's not that important, yeah.
Today is the last evening when we have the workshop and we are finishing the buildings. And tonight everything needs to be ready because tomorrow we are taking them to the studio. All the buildings have a lot of shops, and obviously there has to be something inside the shops. So we printed a lot of these designs, just interiors, on the sticky paper. So this is some kind of a gym, this is an arcade, we have a pizza place, stuff like that. And here are the floors. We have a light wooden floor, we have a dark wooden floor, and some interesting tiles. This is for a barber shop. So the guys in the workshop need to cut the walls appropriately for each store, glue these things on the cardboard, and magically the interiors appear. We made a lot of these billboards. These are just stickers glued on a piece of MDF. And now we glue them all over the buildings because then they are going to be more colorful and they're going to look much better. Before it was just a boring facade, and now it gives it some color, so it's much better now. Yeah. So after the buildings got all the neon lights, billboards and everything on them, now we can finally put the final thing, the cherry on top, the AC units. First we have to put the bigger things and then we can put the AC units around them, right? So we have to wait till the end. And this is now very rewarding. A little bit of glue. This is just random. We're just putting them randomly wherever it looks good, you know. The buildings are finally done and they're moving to the studio.
And it's make or break, literally.
Yeah.
Hopefully it's not break.
Yeah. They have to survive the trip in the van.
По злева. So teraz limit.
The lamps are like this close.
Yeah. It's very tight. So our filming studio is in another town, right? So we have to drive 6 buildings there. The problem is we don't want to drive 3 times over there. So we have to put 3 buildings per one drive. And we are risking destroying the buildings, but I guess we're too lazy to go 3 times. So we just try to squash everything in and hope for the best.
Here we are building the street. This is the first thing we need to do because obviously the buildings are then gonna go on the street. We have the construction of pellets underneath the road. 2 of them stacked together, that's our height. And then we have these boards. The guys are painting the road. Yeah, they're putting the second coat on. And as you can see, we are saving the paint. We are very ecologically aware because you can see we are saving the paint wherever we don't need it because the buildings are gonna go here. We are also cheap. That's the other reason. And over here, Lovro, our electrician, is soldering the final bits and pieces of the building. This is the final building he needs to do.
Yes.
Yes, but then you need to do the road because all the buildings need to be connected to the power source, which is going to be underneath the road.
We already patched about 500 meters of wires.
Of wires, okay.
Yeah, and the last 30 meters will be under the road.
Okay. The pellets are not all the same height. They're pretty shitty, and we have like a half an inch variation between them, which is a problem because the whole sheet cannot be flat on them, right? So I don't know. We just have to mix them until we can match something and make them perfect. It's a lot of physical work. After 4 hours, we finally managed to complete the road, level everything. It was a nightmare. We were carrying pellets all day long. But finally it's done. Now the guys have to like patch the seams a little bit, and that's it. What do you say, guys?
It's wonderful job.
Yeah. And now we can finally start working actually and detailing the buildings and putting everything together. There's still a lot of work to do on the buildings. Yeah, after the whole day of manual work, we can now finally start working. So with the buildings in place, we could attach the final details to the buildings. Place the vending machines and trash cans on the streets. Basically just glue everything that was left. And as a cherry on top, I finally attached my beloved crab. And this says Crab Paradise. This is how I call this restaurant. After over a month of insanely hard work and many long evenings, It's finally Christmas time! We are discussing the next week of filming because now we are entering Tokyo set. Now we are just going through it again and we are trying to eliminate some shots because it's always good to remove something if you don't need it, you know, trim the fat.
It takes, let's say, 2-3 hours to set up and film a shot properly.
Exactly.
And sometimes you don't need it. And then you just have to pre-plan up front and just take it out and never lose 3 hours of filming.
So as you can see, so far we removed one shot.
Yeah.
The only problem is that when we remove one shot, we often add 2 more.
You caught us in a very stressful situation because today we are starting to film Tokyo, but we're actually far from filming.
But that's normal for a first day.
Yeah.
We just gotta figure things out. Today we have a new way of filming here with the Tokyo because we only have 6 buildings. And sometimes you need to have a shot that goes into infinity. And the way we're gonna do it is we're gonna put a TV screen behind the buildings and then we're gonna open a file in Blender which is made out of 3D buildings which look exactly like our buildings do. We actually took photos of our models and textured them onto 3D geometry, and then I can always find the right angle in Blender and we can have, you know, the correct perspective. Basically we are using it like you would use Unreal Engine, but I don't know how to use Unreal Engine, so we are using Blender. We are doing a very cool shot with 2 cars. The Supra is driving and then the Skyline is behind her and takes the lead, right? And the way we did it is we put the piece of wood on the camera, on the robotic arm, and the fishing string to the car. So basically as the robot moves, we are moving the car as well. And the other one, I pull it manually and I'm just like waiting a little bit behind it, and then when I pull, I take the lead. And the shot looks pretty cool.
So this is always an epic moment. We're just gonna cross the first shot we done in Tokyo. I just broke my pen.
3, 2, 1, nice!
Ooh. Look, I'm happy to be the one who broke the first lamp because this is inevitably going to happen all the time, so...
When the Nissan Skyline goes through the finish line, it wins, and in the celebration, it does a drift donut. It basically is a 360-degree drift move, and it's quite hard to accomplish with miniatures.
Yeah, because we would have to pull the car with strings, of course, and to do a 360 turn around the camera and everything would get tangled, and it's impossible. So what we did is we took the turntable, we placed the car on it, and we just pinned it basically on the turntable. So we did only a pass for the car. Then we moved the car away and did a pass
For just the Supra entering the shot.
And then we're gonna composite the car on the road. For this shoot, we're trying to do as much as we can in camera.
Because our schedule is very tight and we don't have lots of time for post-production.
Absolutely, yeah. But you know, sometimes you just have to improvise and do some things in a couple of passes because it's just impossible to do otherwise.
This is a complicated shot as well.
Every shot is complicated here. Every shot.
Now the problem with the Lego Technic car is they're very lightweight. So when you throw it, usually, you know, it just kind of like bounces off very weirdly, like a real car wouldn't.
So our friend who is fishing in his spare time lent us a couple of his lead weights. So we put them in the trunk and now the backside is much heavier. Not bad.
Yeah. For the next scene, we assembled several Lego bonsai trees. The whole idea was the cars race around them, and the Supra had to overtake the Nissan Skyline.
The first car needs to be pulled by the string, the Supra. Dino is pulling it, and at the same time I have to puppeteer the Skyline and I have to drift into the corner and then straighten it out. So the camera needs to be perfect. We both have to do the perfect motion at the same time, so it's pretty tricky. This job is hard on your back, you know. You have to be bent over all the time. We are now filming a shot where the camera goes over the miniature table and we put these little tiny glasses and bottles and everything on the table. It's magnificent. We could never do it without this particular lens, because imagine having a camera with a proper big lens. You could never do this. Look at this. It literally goes between the glasses and the chairs and everything. So this is a real luxury.
So we're actually doing a really cool scene where this huge Rogers World of Ducks truck is passing the crossing, and the Supra is avoiding it in the last second and goes around it.
Often we have a crash. That happens too often.
And since this is a Fast and Furious homage, it should be very dangerous, so we're almost crashing every take.
We framed the shot so the lens is very close to these neon lights and it's going like down. And of course in the actual shot they look enormous. They look like actually big lights. And it looks so cool when you're filming it, and then you take just 1 second because it needs to be a fast edit because it's an action film. And you don't really even feel the motion, so a lot of it is lost in the edit. But that's how it has to be. It needs to be fast and snappy, but we're very happy with it. Are we? Are you happy?
This is some real Michael Bay stuff right here.
I prepared these roadblock signs yesterday. It was panic, of course, a day before we film it. It's always funny how in the movies they have to make this ramp. So if you look at this, it looks completely set up just so the car can jump over it, which makes no sense in real life.
But the problem is you only have a very short amount of time to realize what's going on. So you have maybe a second to realize, a roadblock works and there's a ramp. And that's why you have to bit set it up. Otherwise, everybody would be confused.
It's a graffiti that the Lego guys wanted us to put on the truck. It says "Ride or Die," and the graffiti was actually handmade by Luca, the guy who was working on the miniatures with us, because he's actually a graffiti artist, so he did it by hand. This paper is too white, it's too perfect, so I'm just gently trying to do some rain streaks and some shading, and hopefully I'm not gonna destroy the painting, because this is the only one we have. We are now pushing the skyline with the camera, and because it's a very heavy car, we had to construct this awesome rig for it. Let's see if it will survive a couple of shots. For this shot, we're going a bit higher with the camera, and I need to see street from the top view a little bit, right, on the 3D render. So I can just come here, move the camera wherever I want it, and re-render quickly one more frame to put it on the screen. Dino went crazy. He just invented the shot and the car's gonna hit everything and everything's gonna get broken.
The thing is, we prepare one shot for 3 hours, then we film it and it's Now we have a new technique. We just steal shots. That means we just improvise. And now we're gonna do the best improvising shot of the whole filming, and that's the car crashing into the construction site. And that's it. Action. Let's film it. Okay, камера иде. 3, 4, акция! Акция! Unfortunately, the shot didn't went as expected. Instead of crashing into the construction site, the car crashed into the camera. And on top of that, the car is completely broken.
What did we learn?
We learned that we need more cars.
We finally arrived to the money shot. It's the shot of the skyline bursting through the side of the truck, and a million little Lego ducks explode all over the place. We need to have a new tarp for each burst, so I prepared only 4. We have 4 takes.
So that means you have to employ more cameras. So we need to figure out how to place the cameras and how to do the general light. We are using the Sony FX6, then we are using an iPhone 15, who has a progress option in 4K and 100 frames per second in slow motion. And we're also using a phantom camera around maybe 500, 600 frames per second. It's specifically to get the Lego ducks in slow motion. So a lot of combinations, we'll see what works.
I made this ramp. I'm gonna push the car very fast. I put weights into the truck because the truck would probably move as well during the hit, which we don't want. I'll build a little cradle for Lego ducks and hopefully the car will burst through it and it's gonna be beautiful. So I'm scoring the paper on the backside with the box cutter a little bit, just halfway through, just a couple of lines. The paper has the best tendency to break at these places, right? So this is 2000 Lego ducks. 3, 4, start. Okay. The first take didn't really succeed because my ramp was too high, so the car didn't burst in the middle. It burst like here, and it didn't. Nobody framed for that, so the framing is a little bit off. The next problem is I missed half of the ducts. They stayed inside the truck, so the burst wasn't that spectacular. So now we're gonna adjust these things and do another take.
Good luck to all.
The second take failed because there was so many ducts, the car actually stopped. It couldn't get through them. So now we learned that we need to put a bit less ducts, and hopefully the third one is gonna be okay. Because I'm running out of my papers. 3, 4. 3 of them were not really good.
Not at all.
Yeah.
But the fourth
one
was
perfect.
excellent. As the fourth shot was great, we came to our cinematographer Tomislav and we wanted to see the replay. Unfortunately, he was very concerned, and then we realized why. He forgot to put on slow motion mode.
What I did, I just patched up the broken tarp and we did another take. We realized that it looks okay on camera, so I just kept patching it and patching it. So we filmed 3 more times.
I must add, our cinematographer, when you patched together the tarp, he said, oh, the tarp looks perfect.
Yes, he was very satisfied.
Yeah. We managed to get a really close up of the Lego duck spinning in the air, and that was beautiful.
We are filming the macro shots of the pistons in the engine. The wheels need to spin because everything is connected in this car. So I'm spinning the wheel with a drill and the pistons are then moving, and at the same time we are obviously flickering all the lights because then that gives the illusion of movement. Today we are moving the robot. It's our last day of filming the Tokyo. This is going to give us some new perspective on the whole city. So we want to have all 6 buildings in the shot, but you always want to have something in the foreground. So we quickly came up with this roof of the 7th building. This is just like the pieces from the rooftop set, actually, just the AC unit and stuff like that. Then it gives the illusion that there's much more buildings in the city than we actually have.
And the thing is, we planned the camera move to go between the components on the rooftop and emerge and reveal the city in the background.
The final shot has this nice motivational message on the road, which I now have to spray. When you spray, you should always wear a mask. Don't be like me. Oh, pretty good. You know how in all the cool movies they have these manholes and the steam is going out of them? Well, we have these miniature 3D printed manholes and we connected the tube underneath. Hit it! Yeah, look at this. There's hell under Tokyo. This is a recreation of one of the shots from the earlier movies in the franchise, where the camera spins 180 degrees. So we have first the Supra that lands, the camera spins, and then after the skyline lands on the screen. And the problem, of course, is that when they land, they need to keep driving. And the only way to do it is if you pull them with a string, and they need to be far down behind the TV. We are hiding. Each one has the fishing string for one of the cars. And we're just, yeah.
And they also change directions every time, so we need to be always in the middle. We need to make the fishing string to pull them.
Yeah, it only took us 20 takes.
Yeah.
And we got one print.
This is actually one of the faster shots we've done. Okay.
And that's basically the end of the Tokyo filming. This is the last shot we made.
And I don't feel at all like celebrating.
We feel Tokyo! Yay. What you saw right now are the final images from the shooting phase. When we were editing this, we were like, how are we gonna end this? Because it seems like a downer a little bit.
Yeah.
But in all honesty, it was 25th day of filming. We were tired as hell, right? Yeah.
We basically shot a feature.
A feature, right? That's the amount of days we used. Because it's complicated. Every shot is a visual effect.
Yeah,
But
those are not normal shots.
yeah. If you film with actors, in one day you film 5 minutes of footage, for example, right? Because if it's just dialogue, right?
And
But
if you
here,
film with Lego Technic cars, every day you film 5 seconds of footage.
5 seconds of footage, basically. Yeah. So it was complicated. Yeah.
So, in conclusion, this was quite the epic project. It took us more than 5 months. 1 month to plan everything, figure out, do the storyboards, 1 month for building, 1 month for filming, and a whole month for editing and post-production.
That's 4.
And there is also 1 month of communication with the clients. But the truth is,
Yeah.
a few weeks pass,
Yeah.
you watch the making of videos,
Yeah.
and your heart fills with joy,
Yeah.
and you're happy.
And that's what filmmaking is in general.
Yeah,
That's like it's always is.
It's
Yeah.
going through hell,
Yeah.
and then you end up on vacation and have beautiful memories.
Yes. Long story short, it was a special project for us.
Yeah.
And we are thankful to the Lego Group for
Yes.
choosing us. in
No,
the
of
first
course,
place,
yeah.
You know what's the best thing about working with Lego? They leave all the cars to you in the end. We have a lot of fishing string left, so we can do some fishing.
Yeah, we go like take a long vacation to the sea. We have a lot of fishing string left. But let's just use it for fishing.
Yeah.